Welcome to Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
While this is a podcast for farm families, sometimes our content isn't for the whole family. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Barnyard Language. So, as always, I'm going to ask Katie what's going on in Iowa. So, what's the news? What's happening on the farm? Are the crops flying? What is up?
We haven't started harvest yet, but a lot of other folks have. We had, hopefully, maybe our last calves of 2024 born last week.
Hopefully, maybe.
Our mascot, Ayrshire, who has been known to suspiciously frequently calve in December so that she gets to spend the winter in the barn instead of outside. So she does what she wants, and I would not be surprised if she has figured out a way to not settle until late enough in the season. Anyway.
I gotcha.
So there's that.
Sorry, you're my mind is coming from a farm where we do preg checks every 2 weeks, so I know that that's not the reality for everyone else. So a surprise pregnancy is not going to happen here.
Yeah, that's the thing with the live service. And I mean, we preg check if the vet is already here, but otherwise our preg checking is pretty much, is the bull still interested in her or not? And since the bull is at a neighbor's farm,
yeah, who knows what he's interested in?
Who knows? Yeah. Other than that, we've reached that sort of time of year where you have to check the weather every morning before getting the kids dressed, because yesterday it was shorts and a tank top and it was still kind of too warm, and today it's pants and a sweater and it's still kind of too cold. So
that's right. And you kind of need to layer, because by the time they come home in the afternoon, it could be too hot for what they wore in the morning.
Yep. And, it's still warm in the school, and it's, they're running around outside, so then it's too warm. But yeah, we're just at that time of year. So that's delightful.
And all the clothes that they didn't wear all summer, you're pulling out and finding out that they don't fit, or that was what happened at my house last week anyway. My 9-year-old grew out of every single pair of pants in his drawer, so I had to. Thankfully, I'm in a lucky position where I just open the closet and pull out the boxes of hand-me-downs and start looking for pants. So we found lots.
Yeah, we're in the. It's a good thing that I got a bonus this year, because mommy's going to have to buy a lot of new clothes this week. Where the boy child as well. The girl child never wears jeans. She has a pair. I think I've seen them on her once in the last 8 months, maybe. The boy child used to wear jeans maybe 40% of the time. He doesn't at all anymore. I think he would probably still wear overalls, but nothing with like a stiff waistband.
Yes, no, my boys would be in agreement. I don't think I've seen jeans on anyone around here for a very long time.
Yeah, which, fair enough. And thankfully there's a lot of joggers and things available now that are made of, heavier fabric, not just sweatpants fabric.
Right, the knees aren't going to bust out the first time you wear them.
Yeah, we have that problem on quite a few pairs of pants. Other than that, not much going on. What's happening at your place, Arlene?
Well, soybean harvest is done, which is exciting. So they are all off and gone to the elevator. And corn silage started. There was an issue with, we rent a bagger from a neighbor. We have upright silos that we fill up, but then there's more than the silos can hold. So we do a couple of plastic, like large plastic bags. And the bagger kind of broke on the final, I don't know, few feet. I don't know how many feet, but anyway, so they I think are going to come back and finish off that bag and just fill up that last little bit. But yes, most of that early round of harvest is done, so that's kind of exciting. Soybeans only took about 2.5 days. I think I've said before, we don't own our own combine or equipment for either combining or for silage, so it's just getting all of our contractors lined up and getting them here and making sure all the equipment that they need is working properly. So that's exciting to have 2 of those things done, and then the corn will be a while yet, but it always feels good to have some things off the fields because then hopefully you get paid for them.
That is always nice when you get money.
That's right. And that there's feed in the silos for the winter. So that's exciting stuff too.
Yeah, that too. It is a nice feeling to have that feed put away for the year.
Yes. And then this past weekend was our regional 4-H show. So, kind of the big finale for the year for a lot of the kids, the ones who aren't going to progress onto the Royal Winter Fair. This is kind of their last show of the season. And for the ones who are going to the Royal, this is kind of the most competitive show up until that point that they're going to get to. So, we were at that with a bunch of our 4-H kids. I think we had 15 in our county, all dairy kids for that show. It's dairy and beef, but in our county there isn't actually a beef club. So it was all of our dairy kids and they did really well. And my daughter ended up actually winning the overall with her calf for confirmation. So her jersey was the winner of the day. So that was very exciting for her. And then one of the girls that shows with us, her heifer is here at our place because they don't live on a farm. She won overall showmanship. So it was very exciting. And our team even won the tie-up competition, which is also very stiff competition. There was one of the girls on the team was actually like on her hands and knees sweeping the floor at times to make sure everything was pristine at their tie-up. So it was a lot of excitement for our county this weekend.
Do other kids even bother showing up anymore when they see your farm name?
Well, this one's just 4-H, so it would be our county name. And yes, I think this show was like 150 or so on the dairy side. So yeah, there's a few other people. We're not just like intimidating people that much.
And I mean, it helps that your daughter is a very nice person. So
Oh, does it? So she's allowed to win.
I feel like she would be more unlikable if she was a total bitch and
Okay.
also dominating. I don't know. I feel like that would be worse. She seems like she would still be encouraging to other competitors. Maybe not.
Yes, I think so.
Maybe I'm totally wrong about her and she's actually a total monster in the show ring. I don't know.
Not that I've noticed, but I mean, maybe people have their opinions. I'm not sure.
There you go.
All right, why don't we welcome our guest for this week to the show?
All right, sounds good.
Today, we are excited to be talking to Mike Nixon, who's joining us from England. And Mike, we start each of our interviews with the same question. So this is a way for you to introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit about where you live and what's happening there. We always ask our guests, what are you growing? So for our farmers, that usually covers crops and livestock, but can also be kids and businesses and any kinds of other things that are going on. So, Mike, what are you growing?
So at home, we're not huge. We've got 3 acres at home, which we literally have just sheep on, and we've got 30 chickens as well. But also we have a barn that we basically renovated. We run our own gym from there as well then.
And what kind of sheep do you have? Our sheep farmer people are always wanting to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, we're well, we've got all sorts. So we've got some black nose Vallises, oh crikey, some Jacobs and Dorset Downs as well then. So yeah, they're a bit of a mixed breed.
Yes, you've got a bit of a combination. And the chickens, are they just for eggs or do you have some meat birds as well?
No, so they're literally just for eggs. So, like I said, because we've got the gym, it works out really well because obviously eggs are a massive protein boost. So yeah, we literally just sell them outside the gym, and obviously because they're free range, people just go absolutely crazy for them. So yeah, no, we're always sold out every single day, so it works well.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then they can view the chickens on their way in too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believe you're also a parent. What age of child are you growing there?
So my son is not so little anymore. He's 15 now, so yeah, he's in his last year of school at the minute. So
Yes, so growing by leaps and bounds, I'm sure, and probably also eating a lot of eggs.
yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
What's your farm background like? Did you grow up on a farm or what's your.
Yeah, so crikey, I've probably been in farming. So my granddad had a farm, and then so yeah, we've always been around farming. But then my brother, well, stepbrother, shall I say, he ended up when he must have been about 15, 16. He started working on a dairy farm, which literally backed on to my mum and dad's house. So he literally just jumped over the back gate, and he was at work then. So probably from the age of about 8 or 9, at weekends I used to go and help him out. I used to feed the calves while he was doing the milking with the herdsman, and then probably from the age of 15, I started doing a bit of gamekeeping. Just helping out the gamekeeper, and then I was probably 17. I went to college. No, sorry, 16. I started at college, and then when I was it was a 2 year course, but I ended up coming out because I got offered a full time job on the farm where I'd been for would have been for 16 years. But then I obviously had my accident then, so.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into one of the reasons that we wanted to talk to you today. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about that accident and what kind of changed your farming career and in your life all in one?
Yeah, no. So basically, it was what was it? October 2019, and basically the farm I worked on, we had 4,000 acres of arable, and then we were rearing anything from 800 to 1,000 head of cattle as well. And they were literally, we were breeding them for a dairy farmer in Dorset. And basically, we rear them, we get the calves from about 3 to 4 months, and then aim to get the heifers in calf for about between 18, well, yeah, 18, 19 months, and then they go back home then to Dorset about 3 months before they're going to calve. And then basically the calves, the farm where the calves were, there was a gutter above the calf shed, and basically that gutter was just full of muck and rubbish and all that lot. And the rainwater was then going over into the shed, and we found out the calves were suffering pneumonia and stuff like that, and we found out they were getting pneumonia because of that reason. So I decided to get up on the shed and just clear the gutter out, and unfortunately lost. Well, basically there was an RSJ either side of the gutter, and I unfortunately my left foot just slipped, lost my footing unfortunately, and ended up falling through the asbestos roof and fell 28 feet and ended up breaking my back at T7. So I'm now wheelchair bound.
Yeah. So do you have memories of that day? Do you remember what happened, or is that from someone telling you what happened, like kind of in that immediate aftermath?
No, so I can literally I can remember getting up on the roof, and basically what was in the middle of the gutter was, it was almost like a plant sort of thing that had started growing, and I can remember just tugging at that, and it was actually a bit of it snapped, and that's how I lost my footing. I can remember my left foot going through the roof. I can remember falling through the roof, and then the next thing I know, I remember my mate was on the loader outside, and he came running into the shed. Obviously, the calves were all around me, being nosy what was going on, and I can remember him coming in. I literally just said to him straight away, "Yeah, mate, I can't feel me legs." And after that, can't remember a thing, to be honest.
And so then following your accident, how long were you in hospital? And then I'm assuming probably rehabilitation after that time? Like what was the time after your accident like?
Yeah, so what did I do? I was supposed to go up in an air ambulance, but the weather, typical English weather, it started raining and windy and that, so it couldn't actually take off from the yard. So I ended up going via ambulance to a hospital at Coventry, where I spent exactly 3 months at Coventry. Now I wasn't operated on, so I literally spent 3 months flat on my back, and the doctors and consultants just said, "Look, this is the best way for me, course of direction for me," and so my bones just fused together themselves without being operated on. So I did 3 months at Coventry like that, and then I ended up in Stoke Mandeville, which is a rehab centre for spinal cord injury, and I literally spent exactly 3 months there then.
Yeah, so that is a long time sitting still for someone who is probably used to never sitting still. What were those, especially the lying flat on your back for 3 months? I can't imagine that for a farmer that would be an easy process.
No, that's yeah, no, that's incredibly difficult. I was incredibly lucky. I'm sure it's probably the same way you guys are with the farming community. It doesn't matter how far away you live from each other. we're very tight knit. So I literally had visitors every single day, and the nurses were brilliant there. So you have times where people can come visit and stuff, but the nurses were really good. And if people turned up during the day when it wasn't meant to be visiting hours, the nurse was just like, yeah, you know, you're fine, you're all good, and they'd allow them to come in. So that helped a lot. And the wife also bought me a tablet in, and I just started watching. This is probably the most TV I've watched in my life. So yeah, that kept me busy doing things like that as well. Then so.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that timeline, but then during rehab, that would have been going into the first round of COVID lockdowns. Is that right?
Yeah, so when I was in Stoke Mandeville, so COVID hit us. I came out just about 2 weeks before everything started shutting down because I literally spoke to my physio and stuff, and she was just like, you know what, you know, you're fit enough, you're strong enough, you've learned what you need to learn. Um, you're best to leave. And the last week I spent in hospital, the hospital was like a ghost town. There was literally nobody. All there was patients and people walking around, which were doctors and nurses and physios. That was it. So yeah, that's when I ended up leaving then. So yeah, came back home and I lasted. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks at home, and then I ended up luckily being farming. You're in the middle of nowhere and stuff. So I literally ended up ringing my mate, and I was just like, look, I've got to come out and do something because I'm literally pulling my hair out here. So he was really good, and he was like, yeah, come to my place and come and help us. So I ended up doing like just fencing jobs and feeding the cattle and stuff like that. Then, so I was, he was a massive lifeline for me when I first came out of hospital.
Yeah, because I imagine even in physio, they're keeping you pretty busy day to day with all of your exercises and all of those types of things. But then to go home and be in lockdown would be a completely different thing after that.
Oh no, definitely it as well. I think it's a farming background. I think in our heads it's just like I want to crack on, I want to get going and stuff. So yeah, I ended up with physio. So usually in rehab, you spend anything from a paraplegic like me, you're usually in hospital rehab for at least 5 months. Well, I did 3 months, and I just worked so hard just because I wanted to get home as soon as I could. So and the physio, she recognised that, so she pushed me really hard on doing transfers and all that sort of thing. Then and yeah, just working on my upper body to make sure I'm as strong as I can be.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that there would have also been having to be changes at home then to prepare for you to return home to make sure that you had a place that was accessible and to be able to get around. What kinds of things were happening when you were in rehab to so that your family was ready to have you back?
Yeah, so well, basically, because my accident happened at work on the farm, it wasn't a family farm or anything like that. So there was obviously a payout. So what ended up happening where we lived before, we had a stair lift fitted, had a few adaptations and stuff. But then we literally found once the payout had gone through and all that sort of stuff, the wife found a place. It was actually 3 miles away from where we used to live, and it's where we are now. Like I say, we've got 3 acres and we've got a couple of outbuildings which have been renovated and stuff like that. So we're really lucky. So in the new house we've got now, it is a barn conversion, and it was like the perfect home for us. So it's an eco home, but it we had a lift fitted into it, and it's got already built into it the structure. So when I need to have a lift or a hoist, sorry, to get me in and out of bed and that sort of stuff, it's got that ready. So it was like the perfect home for us. So we're really lucky to find it, and it was just down the road as well, so it was ideal.
So, do farmers make better or worse inpatient rehab folks or inpatient anything folks? Because it seems like on the one hand you have that like drive to get the fuck out of there, but also I imagine that farmers are the biggest pains in the ass to have to deal with because
Yeah, so my consultant he actually said to me, "We're the most difficult people because we don't show when we're in pain. It's like we just hide it, and I think that's because it doesn't matter if you're male or female. I think we are incredibly strong people, and I think we're. I don't know if we're bred that way. I don't know what the right word is, but we hide things. And my consultant said to me, "Is like we're so difficult to read, to know when we're in pain and all that sort of stuff." There was a couple of farmers in there when I was actually in there. Well, not just farmers. There's a few horsey girls as well, and we're all the same. I think it's not just farmers. I think it's country people. I think we are just so not being big headed, but I think we're all just so incredibly strong, and we've just got that mentality of yeah, this has happened. Let's just crack on now and get on with it. And yeah, when I was in my rehab, the people I met that were country folk we all had that mentality. And yeah, I think for doctors and physios and that lot, in some respects, like you say, it's probably quite difficult for them. But I think for the physios, they all loved us because it was just like, you know what, I just want to get the hell out of here. Just tell me what I've got to do, and I'm going to do it. And I think that the physios, especially, I think they quite like that.
Yeah, they're not having to do as much encouraging probably as some other patients.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's just like, yeah, what do I have to do to get home? And yeah, just tell me what I've got to do. I'm going to do it. And yeah, I think that works quite well in there for them anyway.
I feel like, too, with spinal injuries, the more people I talk to have spinal injuries or head injuries, the more convinced I am that farmers, especially, just set out to hurt themselves in really strange ways. But I'm also pretty sure that humans generally, like, we could spend the rest of our lives sort of rolling sideways from place to place, and we would still manage to hurt ourselves. It's really, people do get hurt in the strangest ways. It's never boring stuff.
Yeah, no, the crazy thing that, because like I say, I fell 28 feet. And I always say to people, I feel incredibly lucky that I'm still here because you feel some people fall 28 feet, they don't live to tell the tale, sort of thing. Now I'm T7, so still got pretty good hand function and stuff. I know people that have met people that have fell like down 2, 3 steps, and they're like in the C region, which they've lost hand function, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, like I said, I fell 28 feet and I've still got my hand function, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I feel incredibly lucky, and yeah, my accident could have been a lot worse, but also, literally, I tell everyone this: if so, we had a scrape passage in the calf pens. If I fell 2 foot backwards, I would have landed on fresh bedding. So yeah, luck of the draw, really.
What are some of the things that have changed in your life since your injury, and what hasn't changed?
Yeah, probably for me, you ladies know, with farming, it takes over your life. It is everything. Like my job, I was doing 7 days a week, and especially during harvest, like the hours were insane. So, like, your home life sort of gets affected. Like, my wife was really good. She'd been around farming and stuff like that, so she knew what it was all about. So yeah, during harvest and stuff, like the only times I got to see him was when they used to come out and bring tea and stuff to me. And if I had time, I'd spend 5, 10 minutes and just have a sit down with them and have sort of like a picnic sort of thing. So yeah, that. But now I'm really lucky that I get to spend a lot more time with them. Yeah, so I used to take my son to school and stuff, and where we are now, we do bits and bobs around the farm and that lot all together now, which I never used to be able to do. So yeah, that's a massive positive that's come out of my accident. I get to spend more time with them, and I'm not working the hours that I used to.
Yeah. It's interesting the perspective shift too, right? To realize that although, a lot of things are probably worse, but there are some major positives too, right? That have come out of your accident. I know that I follow you on Instagram, so I have seen some of the jobs that you are already doing from your wheelchair. I've, like working with sheep and things like that. Can you describe some of the jobs that you are able to do? And are there any things on the farm that you're looking to, adapt equipment or be able to do in the future that you aren't doing right now?
Yeah, so the jobs that I do, and I'm really, like I say, I'm really lucky that if my mate wants a hand or whatever, I can always go and help him on his farm, which is just probably about 10-15 minute drive away from us. So, but the ideal thing for us now is that we are looking for more land to buy, and then the plan is once we found more land, we'll obviously get more livestock. And yeah, you can basically, there's like a lift that we can get that goes on the side of a tractor, which you back your wheelchair up to it, and it will then lift you up high enough so you can transfer into the tractor. And pretty much most tractors now are all like, well, not hand controls, but they're joystick and stuff like that, and all you have like a hand clutch on them and stuff. So I can drive them even though I haven't got use of my legs. I can drive them. So yeah, ultimately, if we can find more land at a sensible price, then yeah, that's the ultimate goal. And like I said, I do like chainsawing and stuff like that. I try and do as much as I possibly can to help the wife out and my son. So my chainsaw now, I can't because I've got I haven't got a lot of core. Um, I don't have a big two-stroke petrol chainsaw. I literally just have a little battery powered one now with a 14-inch bar on it. So yeah, there's little things that obviously you have to adapt around, and there's certain jobs that I know I can't do. But then that's my son's 15 now. That's when my wife and son comes in. Like when we do the shearing of the sheep, the wife holds them. Whereas when I was able-bodied, when I was at college and that, I used to shear a sheep in just under 2 minutes. Now it takes me about, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes. But we always think now, we always turn around and say, like, every job, when I was working for the company I was working at, it was like you were under a time schedule. You had to get it done, crack on, get it done as quick as you can. Whereas now it's like, what if a job that used to take me an hour takes me 5 hours? It doesn't matter. I'm getting it done, and I'm under no pressure. So don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm a bit like, yeah, it pisses me off that I can't do things as quick as everybody else. But then I just think, what, I've got time. I'll just crack on and do it best I can. So
Yeah, and I mean the work on a farm's never done anyway, right? So whether whether it takes you a few more hours or not, your to-do list keeps growing anyway.
I'm wondering, do animals generally respect your personal space better in a chair, or do they just scratch on that instead of on you? Assuming that your sheep are like ours and will just come up and start rubbing on you to scratch their itchy spots.
yeah, no. So we've got the Jacobs. I actually bought from a college friend, and when we first got them, they were feral. Obviously, they got the horns and stuff. So yeah, I won't lie. There was a few like I think I said before. I worked really hard on transfers and stuff, and that was like I knew I was going to be falling out of my chair. Working on the farm, you ladies know that nothing's flat. So, well, when I was helping my mate, I was feeding cattle, and the hill was mental that I was feeding the cattle on. It was that bad that I've got a special attachment in me on my wheelchair, which is electric, which takes me around the farm, makes it easier, so I'm not pushing all the time. And the hill was that bad that I was feeding the cattle on that I had to reverse up it because all the weight was obviously on the back, so I didn't have much traction on it on the front, so I had to reverse up, but so I could get the traction on the wheelchair. But yeah, the sheep, the other sheep were fine. It was just the Jacobs. I don't know if they knew they got the horns and that lot, and they were like, you know what, yeah, we can beat you with this. And there's a few times where they got their horn underneath me wheelchair, and yeah, got a bit rough with me and flipped me out a few times and stuff. But they've since, how long we had now? We must have had them probably coming up 9-10 months, and they've calmed down a lot now. And I think that they have got used to me, and yeah, a bit of blue alkaphene pipe across the nose sort of helped out a little bit as well, just to put them in their place a little bit. But yeah, they're all right now, so we're all good.
Sorry, I was just laughing picturing you putting front weights on your chair like we do on tractors, or like chains, get the chains on there.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. I think probably a 2 to 4 kilo front weight on the front of the wheelchair would probably be ideal, really.
Balance it out a little, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Podcasts are free to listen to, but they aren't free to create. Katie and I would appreciate your support as we work to build the Barnyard language community.
Patreon is an easy way for you to make a contribution that goes directly to making the show. As a member of our Patreon community, you get to watch the video version of our weekly updates, complete with questionable hairstyles and clutter. With 3 levels of support, you can choose a tier that works for you.
Keep the podcast going by becoming a patron today at patreon.com/barnyardlanguage.
So, in a lot of small towns, and I know this is the same in our area, and I'm guessing in Canada, you can get a lot more pushback, I think, for accessibility, simply because rural budgets tend to be tighter. And, I think maybe we deal with more historic buildings has been an issue in our area, and there's just generally fewer people out and about with mobility issues. So I'm wondering how you deal with the accessibility challenges, because that seems to be a real problem for a lot of folks.
It is similar around here, to be honest. I must admit, it's got a lot better the last 20 years. I've got people I've met that have been in wheelchairs a long time, and when they talk about accessibility, there's a lot of places where you literally just cannot get. It's one of them, I can't remember the guy's name now, and he said it perfectly for me because he's a country lad as well. And he said that he doesn't want to change any of the scenery or buildings and everything. We should adapt to that. So we should have equipment to help us do that, like ramps and that lot, obviously. But there's so much equipment out there now that is an absolute godsend, especially for people like me that still want to work in the countryside. And yeah, we're really lucky that there is equipment out there that we can still do the jobs that we want to and stuff. But there's buildings which they have like a clause on them that says you can't make any adaptations to these buildings. So that them buildings, you just say, you know what, yeah, I can't get to there or whatever. So what we've ended up doing, there's like when we've gone to shops and stuff, there's 2 levels, and the other level literally all they can do is there's stairs there. That's it. They can't put lift under that. So my wife or son will literally just put me on WhatsApp and do like a Zoom call and just take me around it on a Zoom call. And it's the same with museums and stuff like that. There's places I can't get to, so they do the same again. It's not ideal. I'd love to be able to walk around with them, but unfortunately, that's not the way it goes anymore. So that's kind of how we get around it.
I think when we talk about accessibility too often, as people who have had young kids, you think about how much easier it is to get around places with, say, a stroller, or a pram, I guess, if you're in England. Like, the accessibility isn't only for people who are in wheelchairs, but it's also for people who maybe, like if you're walking with a cane, it would actually be a lot easier if there were wider aisles and if there was an elevator or those types of things. Like, yes, that person could get up the stairs, but how much is it going to take out of them? Or maybe they just don't go to that store anymore because it's not doable for them anymore. So I think often in the accessibility discussions, the other people who would benefit from added accessibility kind of don't get included into the equation. People with young kids or the elderly, or there are a lot of people who would benefit from having better access to public spaces.
Oh, the other one I added here was, were you a gym person before your accident, or was that something that came home from rehab with you? That sounds kind of scary, like it was a contagious, weird, like, exercise contagion. Yeah, probably didn't need the gym before.
He probably didn't have time for the gym. He was working on the farm all the hours of the day.
No, that's the thing. Look, it's you've hit the nail on the head. Because being farmers, you literally or country people, you literally are outside all the time, doing manual work, and like sometimes, like, yeah, if I had a stepometer telling me how many steps I did, I'd hate to know how many miles some days I'd walk and stuff like that. So I never really needed the gym, to be honest. But now it was sort of like now I really enjoy the gym for physical health, but also mentally as well. If I can, obviously, I'm not working as hard as I used to. Like I was, and a bog standard day for me was, even in the winter, was probably a 12-hour day, and then in the summer it could be anything from like a 14 to a 20-hour day. Whereas obviously now I'm working nowhere near as hard as that. So the gym was a big thing to keep me busy and obviously keep me mentally sane and keep me physically strong as well. Because obviously my arms and now my legs as well. So the more the more work I look after my upper body, the better.
So what prompted you to open the gym to other people? Because I mean, probably you could have just set up a workout space for yourself and for your own needs, and that would have been enough. But what prompted you to open it up to others in your community too?
So obviously I'm in a wheelchair, so it's more when I first came out, and obviously it was COVID, so everything was shut down. But then gyms started to open up, and I went to a few gyms, and I literally rolled in there, and like people, obviously I'm in a wheelchair, so people were looking at me and all that sort of stuff. And but there was literally just not even a handful of equipment I could use. There was like two, like they had a few weights, and then there was probably one bit of equipment I could use in the gym, and it was just like, so I'm paying 50, £60 a month just to use two bits of equipment. So there's obviously gym equipment out there that I could buy that was for accessibility for people in wheelchairs and all that sort of stuff. So I was just like, when we found this place, and there was the barn was already converted to have a gym or something in there. So me and the wife just said, you know what, let's just open up our gym and we'll buy this accessible equipment and we can open up for wheelchair users. It ended up that we had the equipment anyway, but there wasn't that many wheelchair users that wanted to come and use the gym, which is fair enough. You know, it's not for everybody. So we ended up bought some bikes and a running machine and all that sort of stuff, and we just opened up as a normal gym now. And it's, it could be busier, but I still want it quiet so people feel comfortable. That it's not like a commercial gym where there's you come in, there's like, Jesus Christ, there's no room to use equipment. I've never worked out with anybody else in my gym, and we've got 14, 15 people full time, and there's a couple of wheelchair users, including myself. And there's an autistic school that come in and use it for or their students which have autism. They use it on a Friday. We close it for them for 2 hours, and they use it for their autistic children, and that's working really well as well. So it's doing really well. We're really pleased with it at the minute. So
That's a really good way to be able to find something that works for you and can help other people at the same time, but not so busy that you have to wait for the machines that you want to use, right?
yeah, no, definitely. It's obviously it's in my blood. I like my early mornings anyway, so I tend to be in there at like 7:30 in the morning anyway. So I'm done before most people are getting there anyway.
Something I was thinking about the other day is that I know in my house it's always a struggle to keep barn footwear for the barn and house footwear or town footwear separate from that. Do you have a wheelchair that goes out with the sheep and the chickens and then another one for the house, or do you wash your wheels off? What's your process for keeping the barn wheelchair and the house a little bit clean?
Yeah, so I have my electric wheelchair, which that's what I tend to do all my jobs in. I call that my work chair. I also do have the chair that I'm in now, which I use around the house, but I also have a off-road pair of wheels for that, so I can change the age I am. So I'm 37 this month. So the age I am, I can still like take the wheels off myself. So I literally pull myself up against the fence, and I can change my wheels because it's literally just on one pin. You pop the pin out, and you can change your wheels. So I can do that myself. But yeah, when it gets to the point where I can't do that sort of stuff by myself, that's probably when the house is probably going to get a bit muddier because I'll literally just be rolling straight in and straight in with a wheelchair. But we're really lucky with the house that it's got laminate flooring, so it's easy cleanable. It's not like carpet, so.
Maybe you need like a foot bath, the kind that cows walk through. Just do a run through a foot bath for the wheels until you come inside.
Yeah, just some little brushes on the bottom. Yeah, I hadn't really considered that, Arlene, until I read your question. That would be, yeah. So, as a parenting podcast, we often ask people about the transition of adding a child because it's a lot. Can you tell us a little about that time? And I'm going to add this in there. Were you a better parent before you had kids or after, do you think? I feel like I was a much, much better parent before I had a child. I knew a lot more about what I was doing.
Yeah, so I actually had we were very young when we had Jacob. That's my son. So, crikey, I was probably 21 and a half, and my wife was 21 when we had my lad. So that's a lot for a lot of people. That's very young. So yeah, I wouldn't have said at that point. I wouldn't have said we really. I wouldn't say we didn't know what we were doing, but obviously we were very new to it.
None of us really know what we're doing when it comes to parenting.
No, I think that's you dead right. There's so many people that they say, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and anybody that's a new parent now, I always say you bring your kid up the way you want to bring him up. There's no right or wrong way. Yeah, well, I think my lad, like my wife, probably brought him up more than I did because obviously I was at work a lot. But we're incredibly lucky for my lad to obviously he knew me when I was able-bodied, walking around and stuff. To then I'm now in a wheelchair, but I was incredibly lucky. So when he didn't really pay, I wouldn't say he didn't really pay much attention, but he never showed that it bothered him. So yeah, I was really lucky in that respect. So he still looked at me the same. All his mates, one of his mates' mums actually come up to us. We were at a football match, watching them play football, and she turned around. She was like, "Oh, none of his mates look at you as a disabled. They just look at you as Jacob's dad," which was really good. But yeah, like I say, he helps me out. He pays no attention to like if I'm literally stuck in a rut, he will literally just come over and just give me a shove in the back and get me moving again.
I thought you were going to say he just keeps walking.
Yeah, he's done that a few times. To be fair, there was one time when I was messing about and we'd gone out for the day, and I just flipped my chair and obviously fell out, and there was all these people that were panicking and all that lot, and my wife and son were. Yeah, literally, they were both pissing themselves, laughing at me, and everyone else was, why are they just laughing at him? But they're just used to it.
They know you're fine and you'll get back in again, but everyone else is worried they're going to have to assist you somehow.
Yeah, well, there was one person actually turned around and said, "Oh, do you want me to ring an ambulance?" And I was just like, "No, I'm fine. I literally just fell out of my chair. It's fine."
Well, I'm sorry, but like you're already in a wheelchair. What's going to happen? Like, which I know obviously you could still hurt yourself, but like, you know.
I always say to people, because so I play wheelchair rugby, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it looks so dangerous," and all that. And I'm like, "Look, I can only feel half my body, so if I break my leg or something, I'm not gonna know. So yeah, no, you just crack on, and yeah, quite lucky in that respect. Obviously, don't get me wrong, I do have to. I can't feel the bottom half of my body, so I have to feel. I have to be careful of so I don't damage my skin and stuff like that, but. In that same respects that I still want to live my life. So yeah, you have a new outlook in life where if someone says to me, "Oh, do you want to do something?" It's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like I've done the London Marathon, I've done bungee jumping. My next one is skydiving, zip line, stuff like that. I've never really been much of an adrenaline junkie, but you sort of look at life differently now, and it's just like, yeah, I just want to do these things now while I'm still here and I can.
That's a really good way of looking at things. So you talked earlier about the fact that you get to spend a lot more time with your son now than you ever did before because you were working so much. Do you feel like your approach or philosophy about parenting has changed at all? And I was also wondering what kinds of things you and your son like to do together. I mean, the farming stuff, obviously, but are there other hobbies that you guys enjoy working on together?
Yeah, so I'm a big countryman, so I love my shooting and hunting and stuff like that. So yeah, we do a lot of shooting together now. Again, I played the wheelchair rugby, so my lad's come to do that a few times with me and stuff. He used to play for the juniors, So I pay for the seniors and he paid for the juniors. It's it's just like I said, I have a lot more time to do stuff now. So like you say, he helps me on the farm and stuff like that. The farm that I worked on, health and safety was a big strict thing and that. So he couldn't come and do the chainsawing and stuff like that with me. Whereas now at home, if there's a branch that I can't cut, he cuts it, and it's quite nice to. We've recently, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, we went out and bought a little vintage tractor for him, and he's doing jobs on that. I have more time to do stuff with him. Like I said before, like when I was at work, it was like, right, next job, right, we've got to get this done, then it's the next job. Whereas now it's like I can explain to him what needs doing and how we do it and all that sort of stuff. So he wants to be a farmer, so I'm trying to teach him like the best ways of doing things and how to do it without like hurting yourself and stuff like that. So I've got time to do that now, so it's really enjoying that. So
Yeah, and I mean, like, while our kids are teenagers and still are receptive to what mom and dad have to say, you gotta get those lessons in there, right?
So I was wondering too how your son reacted to suddenly being taller than you after your accident, because my kids are 6 and 7, and my daughter is at the point of basically daily measuring herself against me, which I'm 5'9". She's got a ways to go. Like, she's a tall kid, but she's got a ways to go. So I'm wondering, how that went, or if he wasn't. I would imagine by that age he would have been taller than you.
yeah, no, so he's both my wife and so my wife, she's 5'10", I was 5'11", so we're both quite tall anyway. So yeah, but literally, so my accident happened when he was only he's probably like he would have been just over the age of 10 when my accident happened, and yeah, so he was quite a tall lad anyway. So I always joke and say to people like, oh, I was 5'11", I'm now 3'5". So yeah, he is a hell of a lot taller than me now, and yeah, I don't know. I've been really lucky with him. Is like I say, he never really paid any attention, and it's like when we go out and about and stuff like that. Like he doesn't even open doors for me or anything like that. Like sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, this door's quite heavy. I'll hold this one up for him." But there's been times where I've been halfway through the door and he shut the bloody door on me and stuff like that. It's just like I don't think he sees me any different, and we still have that father and son thing where we'll piss about with each other and that. And again, I fell out of my chair and stuff, and yeah, like it's probably one of them things where you want your son to be, you want him to look up to you and stuff like that. But now, like you say, he probably looks down on me. But yeah, I think I still hope I'm a bit of a role model to him anyway.
Does it keep you in line that your wife and your son could both just put stuff on a high shelf if you piss them off?
Yeah, no, she's done that a few times. To be fair, like, if there's chocolate that she doesn't want me to get to, she's very cleverly put it on the shelf. Yeah, no, she's done that a few times.
So you talked a bit about your son, but I'm sure that, having an injury and being away for a while and the changes in your life, that it also would have impacted your relationship as a couple. How have you guys navigated that and worked your way through, figuring out your new roles and how, she was used to you being away a lot and now you're home a lot more, which hopefully is a good thing, but it changes life a lot. How have you guys navigated those changes in your relationship?
Yeah, we were quite lucky actually. So my wife's, crikey, we've been together since I was 17, so it's been a long time, and she's really strong as well. She's a strong person, and it's not. I wouldn't say it hasn't affected her. Obviously, it has affected her. There's big changes, but as a family, we literally just cracked on and yeah, just done it. Like she still works full time anyway, so she works at a nursery, and so she has weekends off, and that's when we tend to do like the big jobs on the farm and stuff. But yeah, it's quite nice in some respects that we get to spend more time as a family together. Like, so my wife, she also has a Thursday off. So on a Thursday, we'll do stuff like either go shopping or whatever, or just go out for the day, or we'll do jobs at home or whatever, and we'll just do it together. Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest positives that's come out of the accident, that I do get to spend more time with them, and it's it's like you said earlier, it has had a positive effect on a relationship, which is quite nice.
Yeah, that's really good. I was wondering if you have any farm specific parenting advice that you would want to share with other farm parents, because one of our goals is to like be the kind of parenting podcast that someone who lives in the country might actually learn something from, or is at least talking to people who they can relate to. So do you think you have any farm parenting advice?
Yeah, the thing that I've learned now that now I've got my son, that I can do more with him and stuff out on the farm and stuff. That I teach him how to do it safely as best I can, because obviously, I've lived it. I've had an accident on the farm and stuff. But it's almost like be sensible with them, but just let them crack on. And me mate who I help on his farm sometimes, well, they've just had a little baby girl, but he's got two boys, and they've got like a little ride on tractor and stuff, and it's just great to see that. I think this is a thing with farming. Your kids are brought up. Um, Knowing so much. I think we're the only occupation where you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a teacher, and you're providing food for the country, well, for the world in some respects. And I think we're incredibly blessed to have that sort of occupation. And I love watching kids, and I love watching my son now. He jumps on his tractor and just drives up the track and all that sort of stuff, and doing jobs on it and stuff like that. I think we're the life they've got, that they're being brought up in, to have those things they can do. I think we're incredibly lucky, and yeah, I feel incredibly proud that my son does what he does, and I think it's the same with mate. I watch his kids and the jobs that they're doing, like they're going out and digging holes and all that sort of stuff, and messing about on equipment and helping their dad do an oil change and all that sort of stuff. I think that they're learning all these things that a lot of kids, unfortunately, haven't got to be. Well, they can't learn because they're not, their mums and dads aren't in that sort of job where they can teach them sort of things.
We've talked before about the fact that there aren't many jobs where you can take your kids along, right? It'd be weird if you walked into your doctor's office and they had a 6 or 7 year old there, but if you go to a farm, it's not abnormal to see kids running around and observing what's going on and being able to pitch in at a young age, but in safe ways, like you said, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
What is your biggest parenting challenge these days? We know kids aren't perfect, or parents aren't perfect. So what do you struggle with when it comes to being a dad?
Probably the biggest thing that I ever struggled with, obviously, when I had the time, like you take your kids down to the park and have a kick around and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, I can't do that anymore. So that's where I've got my brother. So he comes in, and yeah, he'll do that sort of thing. But probably the biggest thing is that yeah, like when your kid's misbehaving, you could chase them around the house and all that sort of stuff. Well, I can't do that so much anymore. But like I say, my lad's 15 now, so yeah, those days are long gone. He's I've got to be fair to him, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's got a good attitude to life. So yeah, he does his jobs and that lot, and then he tends to go upstairs in his bedroom, and he's sat on his Xbox for most of the night. So yeah, it's yeah. No, he's probably not anything to do with me, but no, he's a pretty good kid, to be fair.
All right, so we ask all of our guests, if you were going to dominate a category at the county fair, what would it be? And categories could be real or made up to ensure that you win, or whatever the county fair equivalent is over there.
Yeah, so yeah, we have like steam rallies and stuff, and yeah, we have our country shows and stuff. Oh, probably for me, it's got to be something shooting related, I should think.
What kinds of things are you hunting? Birds mostly?
Yeah, so we so for pheasants, grouse, duck, and partridge, we tend to have seasons. So when the off seasons are done, so our seasons, so yeah, so we eat grouse and stuff. That starts 12th of August, and then the pheasants and the partridge and stuff is it all the way through from September, all the way to the 1st of February. Then, and ducks are the same. So that when that season's over, that's when I tend to go out and do my pigeons and my crows and stuff, which you can shoot all through the year. But I enjoy my clay shooting as well. With my friend and with my mates and with my wife and son, we do a fair bit of clay shooting then through the season, through the off season. Sorry, but obviously shooting from a chair is a bit different now. Whereas before, like you could easily just swing through with your when you got your core and stuff, you'd be swinging through. Whereas I can't do that anymore, so I had to reteach myself to shoot quite far in front to make sure I get it, so I don't have to. Obviously, I can't follow through, so yeah, that was a bit of a learning curve for me. But yeah, so pretty much all year round, I try and do as much pigeon and crow shooting as I can. But yeah, mainly clays and the pheasants then.
Right. Yeah, I would say it'd be a whole change in technique.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I used to shoot a 12 bore or 12 gauge, whereas now I've got a nice little 20 bore that I shoot now. So because it's less recoil for me and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I shoot a smaller gun now.
Right. You don't want to knock yourself out of your chair every time you shoot, right?
No, that's it. Yeah,
You'd be much less effective that way.
yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and move into our cussing and discussing segment. So this, for listeners, if they want to submit theirs, you can go to our speak pipe or our email, and we will read out your cussing and discussing for us. So this is just fair game, whatever you want to talk about, a pet peeve or something good that's happened in your life lately, or whatever you want, just a grab bag. So Katie, what are you cussing and or discussing this week?
Dead livestock. More specifically, the animals that are not really dead. It seems like every farmer has at least one animal, be it a cow, a sheep, the dog, whatever. There is one animal will sleep in such a dead looking manner. And we have a couple cows now who do it. We have several sheep that do it. We have one dog that does it. And you'll be like, over the fence. Yeah, maybe I do just need to start carrying a hot shot with me, see how they feel about that.
Great. So you go out with your poking stick?
Yeah, because, you'll get all the way over the fence and be like up to them, and then, you'll be like yelling their name, and
the vet's almost on the other end of the phone, and
yeah, like the vet's halfway to the farm, and then they open one eye and they're like, what the fuck are you bothering me for? I was sleeping. Like,
I'm just having a really good sleep here. It's fine.
Mike, what do you have to cuss and discuss this week?
Yeah, probably. I'm probably going to go down your route. We've got this one sheep that most of them are pretty good now, but yeah, there's just that one sheep that, like you say, she knows how to bend the rules, and so ours they get their main feed, and they tend to. The wife has a few treats in her pocket for it, whereas this one she knows that, and yeah, you tend to feed them, and then you turn around and she's right behind you, and yeah, she's like jumping all over you and ready for them treats, and yeah, she's yeah, can be a bit of a pain in the ass at times.
Arlene, what do you have to cuss and discuss?
So I've been thinking through our discussion. I actually have an uncle who was injured and had a spinal cord injury, and a cousin as well, who was paralyzed as a teenager. And I was thinking about, I know there are 1,000,001 charities that anyone can support in any given year, and it's impossible to support all of the good ones. But if you have, some fundraising capacity in your life, or you feel like you want to make a donation even in someone else's name or something like that, there are some amazing spinal cord research charities out there that are doing incredible work, and making a lot of gains. It's one area where there's a lot of room for science and for really smart people to make gains and to make improvements for people who are living with spinal cord injury. So just put a plug in for some of those organizations. And I know in Canada, the Canadian Spinal Cord Research Agency is doing some amazing work on that type of stuff. So if you've got a few dollars or pounds, you can send some of them their way. Mike, do you have a particular charity that you would want to promote if someone had some extra coins?
Yeah, so the big one is similar name to yours actually is actually the Spinal Cord Injury Association, SIA, and so we actually did a triathlon. Me and a few of my mates did a triathlon this year for them, which was swimming and biking, or hand cycling, and a 5k push at the end. We did that this year, and then last year I actually did my bungee jump for them as well. So the SIA, Spinal Cord Injury Association, is a big one for me. And like you said, they do some amazing work, but there is a lot going on behind closed doors that I've learned a little bit about. And if it keeps going forward, then it's basically electrical stimulation. If this keeps going forward, then they can do a lot of good work. With obviously, there's some amazing work going on anyway. But if this keeps going forward, then it can make some serious big changes in the Spinal Cord Injury Association. So fingers crossed that they keep plugging on that and keep that money rolling in, and some good can happen then.
Yeah, that's right. There's definitely lots of promise and potential in the work that they're doing. So, Mike, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to follow you online or look you up, where should they find you?
Yeah, so I'm basically I only have an Instagram account, which is Mike Wheelchair Farming, which I try not to bore people. It probably gets a bit samey at times, but I try not to bore too many people with it. But I like my Instagram, because then if anybody similar to me that's still working in the countryside and stuff that thinks that they've had an accident and their life's changed a little bit, and I'm hoping trying to show that you can still do what you want to do, but it's obviously very different, but you can do the best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of power in showing people what is still possible, right? And that there's still jobs, and there's still ways that you can be involved in an industry that you feel passionate about. So I think it's great. Thank you so much.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Mike.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us on Barnyard Language. If you enjoyed the show, please support us on Patreon with a donation.
Big thanks go out to our show editor, Krista Paffrath at the Rural Podcast Network.
Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen, and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
If you want to connect with other farming families, join the private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We are always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch.